Welcome to CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast with Business Solutions MVPs George Dubinsky, Joel Lindstrom, and Sean the CRM Hobbit Tabor. This episode of CRM Audio is sponsored by Alexa CRM. WordPress powers more than 25% of all the websites on the internet and is the number one choice for blogs, websites, and portals because it's open source, simple to use, reliable, and extendable. Dynamics CRM has become a de facto standard in sales, marketing, customer service, and industry solutions. Now they can work together thanks to the Dynamics CRM WordPress plugin built with love by the Alexa CRM team. Capture forms, engage your users and customers, all without writing any code. Control your site in WordPress, keeping your data in CRM. To build the plugin, Alexa CRM has created an open-source Dynamics CRM PHP toolkit, unlocking the world of Dynamics for PHP developers. Download your 30-day trial from alexacrm.com/plugin and instantly create a portal by connecting your CRM and WordPress site. We thank Alexa CRM for their sponsorship of CRM Audio.
Well, once again, we are here recording without Joel. I think he's still on his gambling binge in Vegas, robbing his children of a college education.
Absolutely, yes. And Seattle is sunny. I never thought I'm going to say that. Like, we're in a sunny Seattle.
Yes, we are. We are here at the MVP Summit. For once, thank God, I'm able to say I am here and not listening to the recording afterwards, which was so painful last year. That sound you might hear is us making some coffee in the Keurig. So it's a little ambiance. So
how does it feel to be the first timer?
You know, I'm not going to lie. It's like going to Disneyland. I rode all the rides, even Space Mountain. It's been fun. A lot of information. I could not believe the volume of information. I was surprised at that.
Well, I think you might change your mind next year and then
next
next year because
when you
some of it is repeat. It's
sure.
Some of the things we've been hearing like for 5 years,
yeah.
And they some of the things that just never happen. So,
yeah.
Because the product changed so much, direction changes, leadership changed.
Yeah.
So they wasted lots of money on one thing, then there's on another thing, and then those things are no longer with us. And so you do hear some repeats, but generally speaking, yes, there's some good stuff happening. We've got lots of information about what's in the current release, just about to be released. Let's put it this way. The migration starts at in December, I believe. First week of December. If you're on 8.0, so CRM 2016
you're going to get moved to 8.2.
No, you can start scheduling.
Right.
You can start scheduling your upgrades. So, and of course, we'll get some preview of the things we can't talk about. Not even with fellow MVPs who are not with us.
No.
We didn't make it. So, Joel, I'm sorry, you're out.
You get nothing. I'm treating you like you treated me last year. You're dead to us. But from a first time perspective, a lot of information. It's great seeing all these people that I will
looking up to people.
No, I will. Yeah,
literally.
I will. Yes, because I'm small.
Yes,
but I will admit there were a number of people that I've only seen like online or on blogs or whatever, and I got a little starstruck, which is weird.
Yeah, and turns out they're all humans and they're all mortals.
Yes.
So,
and most of them.
Yeah, and most of them drink. So
heavily.
So. Speaking of which, joining us today, John Replacement.
Thanks.
John, one of the longest MVPs in the current.
Really? I think there was about.
No, I said one of the longest. Okay. Don't push it, Neil. So with us is Neil Benson, currently of Australia. I used to. Look, remember, I used to track you down every time new release of CRM comes out. You change the country.
That's right.
You remember?
Yeah.
You went 2011. You went to England.
Yep.
2013, you went to US.
Yeah.
2015, you moved
To Australia.
Yeah.
So now get out.
Yeah.
So
Thanks,
how you find?
Thanks,
Like
I really
it's
appreciate
your
that intro.
8-7.
Yeah, so I think the MVP program, the engagement with the product group, the relationship's been up and down over the years. I think over the last couple of years, it's been on and up, and it's getting even better. I think Pervin Patel has injected a whole new lease of life into it.
Oh, we'll get a word with him tomorrow.
Yes.
We'll get
Yes,
a word.
absolutely.
So Pervin's the Microsoft lead within the CRM product group that looks after the MVPs. He's doing a stunning job. He's jumping on bugs. He's connecting us to program managers when we've got ideas. Yeah, it's been really good. So the level of engagement's it's been fantastic. Learning lots about Dynamics 365 and what's next. It's been good. And I reckon I would come to MVP Summit even if I was no longer an MVP, just to, like Sean said, catch up with old friends and heroes of mine. It's about as much about the MVPs as it is about the Microsoft product team.
Yeah, it's a lot of people say it's like over the years it's become like a second family.
Yeah, it really. I can see that. I can see it, even just being the first time.
You know, I can see it because I'm very selfish individual, and one of the surprising values of MVP program. So when you start traveling, no matter what country you go to, or most countries, you've got someone who will take you in, show you around, someone who's local, take you best places.
Even in North Sydney that happens, George.
Sometimes even in North Sydney.
Yeah.
Indeed. Even if you go to some hole like Brisbane.
But when are you going to come up and visit?
Anytime. But so do tell, what did you find exciting and what did you find disappointing?
There was a lot of discussion about the licensing changes in Dynamics 365. I think that's healthy, that we were having that discussion with the program group. And, not all of my favorite wish list features have made it into the next version. Some of them are going to be the version after that. So, sometimes you have to be patient, but I think we're really picking it up. The level of innovation, the size of the product team, I think is much bigger, and they're going faster and harder than ever before. So, really proud to be part of the product and the community.
What would surprise me, given that most of my projects for the last 5 years have been on enterprise, is I hardly ever think of SMB.
Right?
I mean, hardly ever. But the passion in that room when we were talking about SMB, it just took me back. I was like, wow. I didn't even think that was an issue. But clearly it is.
I think people miss one of the key points, that for some reason there is a perception, and unfortunately it's at some level in the team itself, there's a perception that SMB means dumbed down, simplistic projects. My experience is anything but.
Right. Because
when I was involved, from time to time I get involved in enterprise projects, and they're all streamlined, you get requirements, you do them, and it's all very organized, even if it's agile, use an agile approach, it's all very streamlined, organized, so everyone knows what everyone's doing, and project just humming along and nicely, and it's not stressful. SMB projects, all about being extremely agile, spinning around, because people who pay the money, they pay out of their own pocket.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They would change their mind just like that in a snap, and I would say, no, that was yesterday, right? Today I want to do X.
Right.
And you have to juggle those requirements, and I would say, I want, blue unicorns, but I don't want to pay for that.
Right.
And now you have to come up with some cost-effective, I wouldn't say free, but cost-effective way of implementing things. So you start reinventing things. You start twisting CRM and pushing it to the limits. So I'd say that, it's generally speaking, it's misconception that SMBs are simple or their requirements are more simple. They're smaller, but that doesn't mean simpler. I've got projects on my hands which is like mind-boggling in complexity.
Well, you have to find ways of scaling that, because if you're doing a project for 10,000 users, you can amortize the cost of doing the customization. You can't afford to do that with small business. You have to be really creative about the solutions that you find, and that's the real challenge.
The challenge is that small business projects, sometimes they like we'll call you when we need you. So they start doing some stuff, and
Right.
of course it goes sideways, and you see new underscore prefix everywhere, but at least you know who's done it. So, and then they call you and say, oh, how do I do that? Oh, so what you were trying to do exactly? Oh, this and this. Oh, okay. Start to
That's the way
undo
you did it in
things.
your first project. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Everyone's done it.
I joke with customers that new consultants typically take about 3 projects before they're properly productive and doing things the right way.
Yeah.
But if you want to go ahead and try it in your first project yourself on your own, good luck.
Okay, but yeah, definitely there's certain developments in various areas of the project, and business edition will be different. We all know that, right? So it will,
Just because that it's it's a different.
and Madeira, what a name! I love the name.
It's
a sweet
Portuguese
wine.
island or region or something.
They do.
Yeah.
They do really good wine. So but it's like Madeira in my mind. It's always like
There's a beach, Madeira Beach,
it's
in
kind of
Florida.
very
Oh, is it?
relaxing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's
Never been. I have no idea what it looks like.
Yeah, I think that's kind of was the intent. But I don't know. I personally a bit skeptical. Not about CRM part. I'm kind of I'm okay with that, like sales and customer service. I'm more skeptical about the accounting part, because this is a tough market to crack, because the last thing people change is their accounting systems.
Yeah.
And they're not driven by business requirements, they're driven by their accountants.
Right.
And Quicken is holding
QuickBooks.
US market.
Yeah.
We've got in
Zero's
Australia.
doing really well in the UK.
Well,
and
Zero
Australia.
is doing. Then Sasu is another online system in Australia. But Zero is like really good. And what they've done back office accounting. So now accountants are peddling it for their customers. So my upcoming, it's still got share of market. So it's extremely hard market to crack. So you have to go to medium businesses. But then you narrow down your choice to.
But Dynamics Nav and GP resellers know that market pretty well. It's their bread and butter, and I think they'll pick it up fine. So I think they need to teach us a thing or two about how to combine project teams together to do back office and front office stuff. So it's going to be exciting. I think Dynamics 365 really lends itself to partners who do both today, who have got ERP teams and CRM teams. I think partners who only have one of those are going to have to pick up the other really quick. So I think we're going to see even more merger and acquisition activity in the partner channel.
Oh, that's
in the next 12
interesting.
months.
Yeah.
I think Dynamics 365 is going to drive all
So
that.
does your practice have?
Yep, yeah, we do both. So
You do both. So you're in a good seat.
we haven't done enough together, so that's going to be interesting. Yeah, but it's all good.
Interesting is another word for corporate fight.
Yes. I can't say that. I'm sure there's lots of my colleagues from KPMG listening. So
Yes.
Yes.
And this is the first podcast where, well, no, I guess not. Back when I was at Hitachi, Joel and I would be on it. We were 2 people from Hitachi. This is the first time we have 2 KPMG people on the podcast. Myself
that
and
is
Neil.
true. Yeah.
Look at that.
Well, congratulations.
There you go.
I think we thank you very much, Neil, for
thank
coming
you.
over.
Thanks, guys.
and,
It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to crack open this bottle of whiskey with you and
Indeed.
play some election bingo.
Indeed. And we're going to be back with more audio from the CRMUG Summit. Look at me. From the MVP Summit. And we'll talk to you soon.
So here we're back again around the table. We lost some people to U.S. election, but I acquired 2 new guests. With me, Mark Smith, who seems to be enjoying himself with the results, and Gonzalez, who said that he has the power to turn any 15 minutes podcast into 3 hours trilogy.
That's right.
So, how are you guys feeling tonight?
Well, entertained, I'll tell you that. Entertained, absolutely. Who would have thought? Yeah, it's definitely pretty interesting to record this thing only an hour after the results were announced and
You
listening.
mean Dynamics 365?
Yeah,
release?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Dynamics 365 was released. So that's always it's always interesting to see how people react to this stuff, but it's good.
Yeah, somehow it puts all the announcements, Dynamics 365 for small businesses into perspective.
Edible grids.
Edible grids, yes.
Edible grids.
No
one cares about edible grids, right?
Did you say edible grids or
edible?
Edible.
Oh, so we
grids.
can eat grids. Oh,
No.
I see.
The thing is, you got to understand that only people that have played in the CRM space for some time care about edible grids. If
But
you're
you
trying
keep
to
saying edible grids.
not
You keep
edible,
saying
I'm
edible
saying
grids.
Yeah.
editable.
It's in New Zealand.
That's how
thing.
Kiwis say.
Kiwi. It's a Kiwi.
Is that editable grids? Is that, as I keep saying, is that it's a tool for us to use. But clients don't care about so much about editable grids. They're concerned about outcomes, benefits that they can gain. And so what we're going to watch that we don't get too caught up on that our new shiny toy and our products.
I tell you the benefit they're gonna get. It's the operations that take 5 minutes because you've got 7 quote lines to add to the
Exactly.
quote.
Saves time.
Now it takes 20 seconds. That's what they're gonna care about.
Yeah, I mean the reality of a solution or an improvement like editable grids. It's not that it's going to move the needle towards return of investment or make a huge impact, but customers love quick wins. They just love it. So when you introduce little features like that makes their life easier, they love it. And anything that improves user adoption is good in my book.
Look, there's one discussion I found interesting today is that when someone raised the question, when we're going to get rid of 10,000 role limits in Excel. And the answer kind of coming across, don't you guys now have upcoming data export services to SQL Server? But you need like 2 degrees and and 7.
And you're talking about the 10,000 limit on charts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And charts. And if you're in charts, right, you want to believe that the data that you're looking at is the true data, not the 10,000 limit, but it is the full gamut of what's available.
So, and they're saying like Power BI, you can do Power BI, you can export data to Power BI. Yes, I can, but trust me, the first time I opened Power BI, I got freaked out. It looks like a, cockpit of the plane. It's so complex. It's like normal user, even power user, wouldn't touch it. It looks scary. It looks complicated. All they want is to say, I want this chart. They used to Excel, and so they're saying, I know how to pivot data, so throw it in, Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that the first reaction is always to try to find a workaround and try to understand if that workaround is acceptable. But I mean, there's a lot of things in CRM that have workarounds. Like if you think about the workarounds for Word templates and Excel templates, you can always type all that information yourself into Excel and not rely on technology to do it. But what we're asking for,
right?
what we're asking for is give us the little extra edge that allows us to decide how many records we want to see on a chart. And an interesting conversation was the fact that we just don't want to be hammering the data. And try to, querying the data that is going to be on the chart. But aren't you querying the data if you're exporting to Excel anyway? So, I think it's happening. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, what gets you excited with new features, new release?
What gets me excited is, without a doubt, is it relationship insights? Relationship insights. I think that's what they're calling it, right?
Relationship insights.
I think that is finally the change from system of record to system of intelligence, right? Where finally it's not about salespeople or any people inputting data into Dynamics being focused purely on what I add to the system, but it's more about what I get out of the system. So now with Relationship Insights, we're seeing that Cortana Analytics is running against that data, and it's telling me how healthy is my relationship with my customer? What's the next best thing I need to do in engagement with my customer? And I think for the first time, CRM is really, Dynamics 365 is really becoming intentionally intelligent. In other words, salespeople have a better predictive outcome of what the data is telling them than if they actually relied on their own instinct.
So you watch Blitz.
But how many of your customers are ready to move to Exchange 2016?
So that's an interesting thing because, I mean, particularly right in Australia, the adoption rate of acquiring O365, which is Exchange ultimately online sits in, has been phenomenal. The problem is that how many of them have implemented that technology. And I think that's the delta we're dealing with. As soon as those organizations are moved from on-premise to an online environment, and I feel that that's the way the world's going, although it's kind of impeded by perhaps the IT departments that run some of these organizations, is that true value of insights becomes practical. And therefore, from that practicality of being given the next best way to engage with the customer or the next best offer to make to a customer, it needs that data set that comes from those Exchange environments. When Microsoft starts running the functionality around sentiment analysis on email, I think it totally changes the game. So from a salesperson going, I think that, there's a probability of X of this deal closing, to actually being able to analyze the sentiment of the conversation going two ways and actually predict the outcomes of that, I think the power for the salesperson is going to become increasingly stronger, that it's not just about their data entry, it's about just the data that's flowing in and out of their system, that they get to make a choice that allows them to sell more.
I just thought of creating a system where a salesperson types, I think the probability of this is 70%, and the Cortana goes, bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nah, not gonna happen.
Exactly.
In your dreams.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not even close.
Yeah, you are not Master Chief.
Right.
What about you guys?
Well, I hope the people listening to this podcast are still awake after listening to that long answer from Mark. But to me, specifically, just talking about the MVP Summit, which is, I think, why some of you guys are listening to this podcast for, is trying to get as much information as possible about the MVP Summit. To me, the thing that I'm the most excited about is to see how ambitious the plans are from the team, the functionality they're pursuing, the goals they're setting for themselves, and the targets they have, how ambitious they are, and the fact that they are 100% convinced they're going to be hitting these targets and functionality that we might believe that is years away. They believe that they can produce within the next 6 to 12 months. So I'm really, really excited about seeing what they come up with. I got to give it to the team, the product team has been doing a great job, and they have really, really ambitious goals, and I can't wait to see what they do.
Well, we did get kind of a glimpse of what's going to happen. We can't talk about it,
Exactly.
but I have to say that when they deliver, it's going to blow everyone away, because it's ambitious and it's cool, and there is a place for everyone, like for developers, for consultants. There's new goodies for everyone. It's like a smorgasbord of goodness.
I mean, you got to look at it. Most of us around the table here have been working since 2003 with Dynamics, right? And so we've been on the journey through through CRM's full life cycle, and I'm like, man, we're 13, 14 years on, and I'm more excited than ever of where we're going with the product, or what the opportunity it presents for people that wanting to start a career in this space or engage in this space. Is that, I feel like, man, I've actually backed the right horse. It's like one of those epiphany type scenarios where this was the right technology to back, because we're on an upward hockey curve swing right now, in where Microsoft is investing, where they're taking the technology and how it can absolutely transform the way businesses run, the savings to businesses around, from particularly a productivity perspective, and really allowing staff to focus on things that are, if you like, driven off the right type of data to make the right decisions at the right time. That's going to move the dial on how they engage with their business, the influence that they have, the productivity steps they can take moving forward.
What do you think about the changes in MVP communities? We now officially business solutions, or BS MVPs, right? So, but that includes others as well. It includes project, it includes AX, it includes GP, and so forth. And now we have product Dynamics 365 operations will come in, and we were, I don't know, if not encouraged, at least there were words of encouragement saying now we should go ahead and cuddle other MVPs, like every GP MVP we come across, give them kisses and cuddles. How do you guys feel about it? Considering that dynamic CRM MVP has always been a closely knit group, and standing aside. Well, how do you feel about sharing your drinks?
Well,
and
my drinks. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I think that in every case, when it comes to collaboration, we have to realize that every time we work together, we're smarter than every single individual. So, us as MVPs are not going to be CRM MVPs are not going to be as smart as us working with the GP and AX MVPs. We have to realize that working together will make smarter solutions, and collaboration is the key to making sure that that we get to implement all of those great ideas that come out from both sides into the product, because now the product is really involving both sides, the ERP side and the CRM side. So I'm actually excited about getting to work with some of those other MVPs, see the problems, the challenges they have, and really understand how the technologies can work with each other, and how we can leverage our skills to help them succeed on those challenges, vice versa.
Well, it's about a holistic model, right? Is that more and more businesses want to make sure that they're not got siloed systems, but their systems, whatever they may be, whether it be those that deal with financial, that deal with customers, is that they've got a single point of view of their customer relationship. And I think finally Microsoft has come out with a model that joins the financial part of the relationship with the customer-centric part of the relationship to drive an outcome that will ultimately drive more revenue for customers, that'll drive more business for customers, that will make a more meaningful experience for the results, if you like, that can be created from this holistic point of view.
So, what was the most interesting or exciting news, particular side probably, that you've heard, Gus, during the first 2 days of the summit?
Well, for me, I guess, in the past, every time we've made a recommendation or what we call an ask, we're really excited when one of those things comes out, maybe two of those things comes out, and the fact that they've taken a lot of the feedback that we deliver on the last MVP Summit and included that in the product, and the fact that they're taking the current feedback and promising to include that in the future, that was for me the best news, I guess, that came out of this. The fact that they're taking our feedback so seriously. And that's because they understand that our feedback comes from working directly with customers. Like the people who listen to this podcast, right? They have concerns, they have challenges, and we are the ones that can give them a voice, come out and talk to the product team and say, look, we're working with organizations out there, and we realize that, these are the challenges they have. And, we're looking for solutions to those challenges. So that was really encouraging.
Didn't you find that ideas, the ideas portal, what is it? Ideas,
CRM ideas.
CRM ideas. What is it? Dynamics or Microsoft.com? That portal is critically important to actually voicing your ideas, making sure you get the upvotes around your ideas. The more and more the Dynamics team take very seriously the submissions that are placed on new enhancements or functionality to the Dynamics ecosystem platform that are placed on the ideas portal. They're taken, they're considered. We heard today that anything above a 10 type or 20 type votes is very seriously considered as whether it's a new add to the platform or whether it's a new enhancement to the platform. It's a key element that the community can actually feed back directly into the product team and the product cycle.
And not only that today we heard that they want to implement some KPIs where we're actively involved. And, in order for us to remain engaged within the community and receive some of the benefits that we receive as an MVP, we need to be involved and provide feedback and provide bugs that we find and anything like that. So I think that's all good.
So let me put it in perspective for our listeners. So next time you meet MVP, make sure buy them a drink, buy them a dinner, make friends with them.
Yeah.
Right. So
when I get your voice heard on the product team, that's the best way
right.
to do
That's
it.
the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you think, guys, Cortana could have predicted tonight's results?
What are the elections?
No, soccer match.
Soccer match. Okay. If it was predicting the Irish All Blacks win last week, I don't think Cortana could have predicted that, being that the All Blacks have been so successful for so long. But in regards to the election tonight, wow. I think I'm pretty shocked at the outcomes as to what happened in that election result. But, mate, I've bought my bag of popcorn and I'll be waiting and watching over the next couple of months.
That's true. You guys? We kind of outside. We go out. We get our popcorn and Best sits in the house and observe the mayhem that may follow. What's your take on it?
Right. I think Cortana Analytics would have have a hard time, I guess, predicting what happened tonight. But it's just like any other polls. They were wrong, right? Based on what happened. Most polls, I guess. Were wrong, and that really tells you. Like,
I think this candidate gonna win, and Cortana goes bullshit. Nah,
75%. Nope, that's not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna close that sale ever.
So that was definitely interesting, but super excited about the stuff coming up. Super proud of the team and the work they've done, and. I think customers are going to be blown away by what's going to come up within the next 12 months.
Yeah. What do you think about new guys coming on board? First year, we're going to talk to a first-timer soon, but what do you think about first-timers? You met those people online, so...
Yeah, I was super impressed. I guess it's because I'm comparing my first MVP Summit with what we're seeing, with these new MVPs. These new guys are... super sharp, super smart, lots of experience, asking great questions. Whereas on my first MVP, I just didn't want to ask questions because I don't want to sound stupid. Yeah. Right? But these guys...
It's still the case, but...
I still don't ask questions for that reason. It's awesome. The guys are doing a great job. Can't wait to hear what they have to say tomorrow.
But don't you think they're pretty blown away by how transparent the product team are and the way they lay out the roadmap there? They're not really hiding anything. They're being totally transparent. They're saying, hey, how can you assist us in achieving these outcomes?
I don't think they're as blown away as we are because we've been doing this for several, right?
Yeah,
this is my fifth or sixth, I don't know, summit. So I've seen the evolution of our interaction with the product team.
Benchmark.
They just show up and see all this transparency and clarity, and they're like, I guess this is the way it works.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's always been like that.
But you gotta say, you gotta take your head off to Jujar in a way, in that he totally lays down. This is where we're going. He's not second guessing it. He knows what he wants to achieve. He's open. He shares he opens a kimono to us. We're like, wow, this is possible. This is where we're going, and he's just transparent with it.
And just the level of clarity, right? Yeah. Whereas before we hear you guys, that's on the roadmap. Now we're hearing that's on the roadmap 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Like they go really, really clear about their answers. So I'm blown away. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. But there is another twist in the story, of course, is that roll back 5 years and say you could say I'm Dynamic CRM MVP. I know my CRM. Mm-hmm. I can install. I can provision.
Yep.
I can do the sales. I can customize. I can do X, Y, and Z. I can make you a coffee and so forth. Now, I'm concerned. But I don't have skills to absorb it all.
Yeah. Okay.
You can no longer be a jack of all trades. It's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
It's like development. Do we need to specialize? Do we find our own niche? Okay. Or what? Who do we become at the end of the day?
Let me give you my view on this. So I was talking with a recruiter in Australia the other day, and I said that no longer will you employ just for architects or Dynamics CRM developers, with the .NET skills, or functional BAs, I said, you're going to have to start to look at really specialist skills, whether they be industry related or people that have a commanding knowledge of, let's say, knowledge management, for example. Yeah. Or
edible grids.
Or field service, for example, right? I think now,
man,
you could carve a career out just in field service. I think the opportunity is so massive just in that space alone.
Definitely.
But then
I'll repeat the number. Like field service. Sorry for interrupting. I was so blown away when Carsten was presenting about field services, and said that field service is capable of consuming, and the number he gave, like from Telca.
Yeah.
What was it? 1 terabyte
of data. What was it? A minute or a second? Yeah. Amazing, right? And that's what I think. I think that people that have a career in Dynamics and for whatever reason have found their world or their career is now in the space of Dynamics, I think that to just know everything about Dynamics is now really not practical. I think you need to specialize. You need to become the guru on, let's say, project service automation or a field service automation or sales or marketing. The thing is, the product is becoming so large, right? It touches so many areas of business.
Did you say marketing?
Marketing.
You meant customer service.
No, so let's say customers.
I'm a great specialist in marketing lists.
Yeah, hey.
I can swing
campaign responses. Graduated.
I eat them for breakfast.
Okay, so let's say you are a specialist in marketing, right? You can no longer just be a technologist in marketing. You've got to fundamentally understand how marketers think, work, and execute their daily operations. And I think that if that's an area that you want to go into, really, you got to come from a marketing background. I mean, that really understand what it takes to do, whether it's social media, whether it's digital related marketing, or whether it's content-based marketing. You've got to come from that background. So if you're like, what I've seen is over the years is that people have been very focused on the technology, but it's more important to focus on business outcomes, business successes, and the technology will follow suit, if you like, behind that.
But is there a room for a Renaissance man? Like jack of all trades?
I don't think
someone
so.
Who knows everything about nothing.
Listen. I'll tell you this.
It's like, sure, I know this market.
I think it's important. I think it's important for you to know what the solution is capable of. If you're a solution architect, it will be hard to architect a solution if you don't know what's possible.
Exactly.
Now, being an expert on everything will be pretty tough, I think.
Yeah.
But the good point about marketing and stuff like this, like for people who, let's say, if we have, I'd be blown away if we have listeners who like in uni or something like that. But I'd say the key to success these days, like if you study in double degree, double up on your degree. You can't just go and study marketing. You go and you study marketing and computer science.
Yeah.
And then you come out and you're gonna blow away.
Listen, as I tell you, this is the way I look at it, is that I think that in your career, you got to consider focus, right? Focus is really important. And the Dynamics product suite has grown so large that to be a generalist or a jack of all trades, as you say, needs to be, if you like, if I look at my career since 2003 and committing to Dynamics, people would say to me, why just focus on one product? Why just Microsoft or why just Dynamics? And I was like, because I think I'm back in a winner and I think there's a lot of opportunity. But now the product has grown so large, I think there's the ability to actually focus on micro sectors of this. So whether it's marketing or whether it's sales or it's field service, etc. And the thing is that I think if you upskill and own that space, you'll never want for a future, career or whatever it would be, because the product is on such a massive trajectory that it's actually craving people that really understand the business outcomes that are being performed as well as understanding the technology.
And I think the more you focus in one area, the more value you can bring on that area, because you do more deployments, you do more projects, you gain more experience, see more businesses. So
repeatability, right?
Yeah.
As in, like, you get an experience that's, when you can talk to others, it's based on not what you're being hypothetical about. It's about based on, hey, I've done this for this customer, I've done this for this customer, etc., and I can do this for you, rather than trying to sell something that is. Or
I've seen how 10 other companies on your industry use it. Or I've seen, all of those things are highly valuable. That's where you bring the value instead of having those companies do it themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's important for consultants to understand that their role in engaging or implementing Dynamics is that they are there as a trusted advisor. They cannot just accept customer requirements and download those as, right, I must implement. They've got to be there as the understanding person of the entire solution set, if you like, in regards to this particular customer scenario, and make sure that they can implement that. And if you like, even push back on the customer when the customer's going off beam, it's going to create the best outcome for the customer.
Were you ever in situations where a customer would be pushing their agenda and you'd go like Cortana, you listen to requirements and you say, bullshit, not gonna happen. You're going all wrong, and, well, not in these words exactly, but did you have any occasions, guys, for example, when you had to say no to the customer and say, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. It's not gonna do you any good.
Yeah, I mean, it happens a lot where customers they think about the overall vision of what the solution it's going to look like for the organization, and where they can see how all of the solution can bring value. But I think it's down to the partners and the experience that we've gained over time. I mean, we've all participated in projects that are too big. Yep. We've all done projects that are too small, too quick, don't provide enough value. So we are really good at finding the balance of what should be phase 1 and phase 2, and building the foundation. The lessons you learn in one phase can be applied to the next, and so on. Even in companies that have a large amount of capabilities, because we come down sometimes to projects where you need sales and customer service and marketing all working in unison. You need that. What you find is that you will do deployments where you start maybe with a city or a small team or a country, and then grow over time. So there's always ways to segment it.
Small city and then suddenly it's country.
Yeah, small city, large city,
country,
state, country, whatever.
Continent.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is you grow little by little. That's all. That's best practice. Always about phased approach for us.
Speaking of phased approach, I was telling you earlier about the news and like on one of my projects, and we were talking about small businesses being, sometimes I feel, being ostracized by the team, and I kept saying, look, small business today, large business tomorrow. I have a deployment that started with one not-for-profit user.
What?
You're not one.
Yeah, one.
Now we're rolling out.
Do you have to pay them money?
Yeah.
I don't even think that's free. I think you have to pay them to use it.
Anyway, so we started with one user. I just got the news that we 7 months into 8 months into deployment. They just got back in a few universities. They're rolling out it statewide.
Yeah,
nice.
So this
Here
is
you go. So yesterday was one user.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to be tomorrow, but they're going to hit 300 users.
Yeah. Good. As long as you provide value, you should continue to grow.
And the thing is, I think you're talking about a cloud economic scale that we're seeing more and more, right? Where someone will dip their toe in the water, they'll try something and go, wow, this is working, let's expand on it. One thing I don't like is this concept of, SMB. SMB is kind of like, I think it's a yesteryear classification of business. And that we've seen so many companies that have been startups, right? They've been startups today and then been billion-dollar businesses tomorrow. And I think the idea of SMB is kind of like a yesteryear concept. It's a wrong way of classifying.
Every company started as a small business, right?
Yeah.
Every company, even the big companies started as small.
They must have started,
grew over
right?
time.
But I think to put a classification on them is so wrong. I think it's, I think we're using terminology that predicts a business of the past, not a business of what's going forward. Because, we're seeing more and more startups that, today start with 2 or 3 people, and then tomorrow they're billion-dollar companies.
Well,
right?
and not just the amount of people, but somebody said it today on a comment, which was, I've done deployments for really small companies that have super complex processes.
Yeah.
You know, the functionality itself. And that's one of the things that we talk about when we teach courses like Solution Architecture Level 300 courses, is that for me, the word enterprise means complexity. Do we have integrations, multiple deployments all over the world? It doesn't matter if they have 100 employees or 100,000 employees. The complexity of the system is what I label as an enterprise deployment.
But I think the problem is that a lot of businesses judge things based on number of screens or number of staff, and that's not a model that represents a current business, right? Because you can have a current business that might have a very small headcount. I mean, if you look at Silicon Valley, for example, and compare them to, if you like, Detroit, what we've seen is that they've had a high user base in Detroit, but the amount of revenue they can produce, compared to Silicon Valley with a much lower user base, is phenomenal. So if we started classifying people just on either an SMB because they've got this number of staff, I don't think it's a true representation of what the market is, if you like, branching into. Particularly startups, particularly new business opportunities that are coming.
So I think, to wrap up this segment, one interesting thing, and this will be the last thing we're going to talk about for this one, is the fact that now that we're all joining in this business solutions arena, and we have, instead of having a few dozen CRM MVPs, now we have a few hundred business solutions MVP, certainly opens up the door for some new people to come in as MVPs. And we certainly had the conversation today where we were talking about, maybe having a couple more hundred MVPs coming into the family. So
what we should do?
I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast want to become MVPs. They want to be involved in this. They listen to this and say, man, I wish to be there so I can bring my own feedback. What advice do you guys have for people?
So number one, don't copy other people's stuff, right? You need to create original content. You can't just take a Technic article and reblog that and as like your original content. And I see a few people doing this. They're like, I'm expounding X, but I'm like, the Technic article is more accurate, and all you're doing is regurgitating that. I think there is a need to actually understand your own stuff and then produce that and add it to the community. And I think the more that you do that you understand or find your own insights, whether you blog on it, whether you comment on it, whether you produce that in any type of way, you add value to the wider community.
But what about the people listening to the podcast that say, I want to be there next year. I want to be there at the summit.
No, I mean, it's not a 5-minute job.
No.
You really have to prepare to invest time into that.
And if you're on it, right? If you're honest, it takes 9 to 12 months, right? You've got to create a pattern of consistency that you're not just a one-shot type scenario. I think you got to create consistency that you're adding value to the wider community.
You have to find your own voice.
In addition to value, like you said, find your own voice, find a niche that you can really come in and add tons of value, stand out. Right? Trying to do a bunch of activity in a dozen different sources is not going to help you as much as doing a ton of activity in one source and becoming known for that one thing. Recording videos, do whatever. Like, do one thing really well, and you'll join us next year in this podcast.
And own the space, right? You think of the CRM charts guy, right? The guy that just was like, I'm going to own charts. I'm going to blog about it. I'm going to look at new ways of re-engineering it. Create a massive value to the community, because people start looking at dashboards and charting objects and going, wow, I understand them better, and that I'm not restricted to the 6 or 7 out of the box, but I can actually create anything. And I think that you need to dominate or own a space if
that you're passionate about,
whether it's USD, whether it's marketing, whether it's field service, whether it's project automation, whatever it is. There is a wide open gamut now to own a space.
On that note, thank you very much, guys. Gus?
Yeah.
Mark?
Wow.
And can't wait to be back.
We lost Sean.
Sean.
Yeah.
He's drowning in his sorrow.
We're going to do some CPR and bring him back.
Okay, and
Next
we'll be back.
Segment.
This has been CRM Audio, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM podcast. You can hear previous episodes on our website, crm.audio. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, follow us on Twitter at CRM Audio, or leave us a comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/CRM Podcast. If you have any topic suggestions or questions that you would like for us to answer on a future episode, please drop us an email at voice@crm.audio. Special thanks to Dale Simmons for our theme music. Go check out his website, dalesimmons.com. Please join us next time on CRM Audio.